What you see is what you get.
WFNG.
Fly nerds. You see it and say it. Yeah, you see black excellence and intelligence we now combine. Fly nerds on the verge of connecting the minds. North, south, east, west over digital lines. Catalogs of the culture inside. Seen it with our own eyes. We done been through the trends and phases. The names and the legacy, the changing faces. We can't talk shop, only dealing the truth. You tuning in to the Fly Nerd group, so let the people's in. Yeah.
WFNG.
FNG.
Fly Nerd Radio.
Yeah, so let the people in.
WFNG. Fly Nerd Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, all fly nerd and nerdettes, you are now in tune to the Fly Nerd Group, and we are here. Very special episode, man. This is a great honor to have this guy here.
Yes.
Let's first introduce ourselves. We are the Fly Nerd Group. We talk about hip hop and comic books and everything else in between. I am Slapface Galactus, the final boss.
And I am Ambi Warhol, the Law You rock star, just having a ball.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, man, we here to chop it up. You know, we do these talks and conversations with cats, man, but this one's very special to me because I pretty much grew up with this person. You know what I mean? Into the culture of hip hop, there's different shades, different people, different background, different ethnicities that come through. And this guy, he was always a leader. You know what I mean? We all came up as acrobats and we all crew. We all had family and people that came through. This guy came through. He was always like the guy that was a step above. You know what I mean? When it came to artistry, entrepreneurship, he was the dude that was leading the way of making the product and putting it in stores and getting it out to the communities and letting them hear the music, you know what I mean? And involved with our culture from in front of the stage, even to behind the scenes, you know what I mean? He always had a foot in it, you know. Countless nights and battles and ciphers that we all kicked it and had, man, you know, it's just an honor to have him here. And also he's just definition of evolution. You know, it shows you how you could be from this area, come up this way, and then make it to a very important place that could definitely help shape and formulate the communities and help them out, you know. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the one and only Alderman Prime, aka Andre Vasquez, man.
Alderperson Prime.
Alderperson Prime. Yo, many monikers, man, but it's lovely having you here. How you doing, sir?
Yo, man, it's a blessing. I feel fortunate to be here. You got me almost tearing up already off the intro. So
Good.
Thank you, man.
Good.
Crazy. Life is crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. You know, like I said before, we met, you know, probably at the Burger King. You know what I mean? Like, you know, at a Burger King in a cipher or something, man. Pugs introduced me to the new roster, to the new guys and stuff. And it's like, oh shit, who are these killers? And yeah, you came out the rank, man. We've been cool since then, man. It's
man, that was over 25 years ago now. Like, it's wild to say it out loud.
Sheesh.
It is.
When you count.
That's how long ago, right?
Yeah. So how's it been, man? You know, we come up from last time I saw you was at a very important photo shoot for Chicago. It was awesome day in Chicago, actually.
Yeah.
And I saw you definitely surprised me. Ron Fest was there. He surprised me. A lot of people came out. You know, I was going out there. I even said on the pod, like, I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? Was people going to show up? Was this going to happen? Was it going to be chaotic and crazy? Nah, it was actually a form of peace, man. Like, all of us was coming together and just like a reunion of like a life reunion. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen that since college and high school type shit.
It was beautiful. It was definitely like a reunion kind of moment. It definitely felt like family. I hadn't been to that museum ever. So that's my first time. Like,
okay, that's what's up.
So imagine like growing up the way we did here in Chicago, and then you go here for the first time, you see all of these like really like a whole generation worth of like flyers
History.
and pictures and history of watching all of us grow up together. And then to have that many people, is like hundreds of people out there together, all for the picture, all catching up. Like it was beautiful. Like I kept saying to people that day, like the one thing that I kept grounded in is like, we're survivors. Like there's so many people that we grew up with that aren't here with us, that either physically aren't here with us, or they're not free, or you know, they're dealing with their own kind of struggles. So the fact that we were able to be there as adults and kind of like be in the same energy was like a real beautiful thing to be. So yeah, I felt it was dope.
It was, man.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, man. So Prime, man, you know, let's talk about some of your background. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
let's do this. Let's ask him. Who are you? Going way back.
Man, I'd say,
for those who don't know.
Yeah, so my name is Alderman Vasquez. I used to go by Prime, and Optimus Prime was my rapper name back then. I mean, I think first and foremost,
see leadership right there. His name was Optimus Prime.
I mean, it's funny when you say that, right? Because like I think first and foremost, when I think about like who I am, it's like I'm a city kid, and I think growing up the way we did, like my parents were immigrants, so I was first generation here, and I was just, you know, first your parents kept you really tightly locked in the house, and then you try to like, then you bust out trying to like really find yourself. And so I think being that city kid out there and trying to hustle and trying to make sure I made a name for myself, I went out and kind of, you know, LL Cool J was the guy that got me started rhyming. Like, oh, wow. I remember I had a babysitter play Bigger and Deffer, and it just kind of like changed my life. So I always felt like for me, like in order for me to get a name, I had to go out there and like beat whoever, make sure people knew who I was when I was out here on the mic. Right. And so I think that energy just kind of had me bursting out. So whether it was like an open mic at Logan Square or going out to the Point or going to Navy Pier, it was like I had to go out there and like
the taste.
Ooh. The taste for sure. Like getting the mixtapes out. But really, I just knew I was like, okay, I learned how to rhyme in high school from like writing poetry to like getting my little name up. And then I battle on the ciphers over outside of Lane Tech. There was like a Taco Bell in the corner, so I battle people to try to get my name up there. And then once I started getting a little good at it, I was like, all right, we're gonna take this worldwide. Let them go to Navy Pier.
the real battleground.
Right?
Worldwide.
Right, but you know, like all city, right?
For real.
Here we go.
Real.
It was, and I just remember, like I ran into Pugs by the Paul University downtown the first time, and there people that heard about me before I met them, which was wild because I was one of the kids who happened to be Latino who was out here battling and rhyming, and it really wasn't that many. So when I ran into Pugs was like, "Oh, you the guy I heard about." I was like, I heard about y'all. So then that's how like.
But you guys created a great bond. You and Pugs was like the duo, man. I learned a lot from y'all because y'all was like
there's definitely a brotherhood there. Like we both were on our hustle. We were both very competitive. Yeah. I'd say he was flyer than I was. Definitely geared up and all that for sure. Right. And I was a little bit. I was more like.
But you was rough. You was the street, and you was the dude. I mean, a little bit myself. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you know, straight up for it,
right to the heart.
Right to the heart. Even with the battling, you're like, you don't play around.
Let's you rhyme? Let's go. I wouldn't even say let's
go. It's not like we're going to do a friendly set. It's like, no, we might get into it.
And the way I kind of started off, like that's what I learned as a way to even get your name up. From like the LLs and other MCs, it's like you got to be out there to even get the recognition. Like, yo, you got to know your old school. You have to know your history, and then you got to get in the ring and like validate your credibility. So I think me and Pugs, we always kind of just rolled. We just had that kind of kinship off the top, and so you know back then yo, Pugs is collecting rappers like his Pokemons out here. He was like, oh, you rhyme, you're Nacro. Like, okay, all right, let's go. So, you know, then there'll be some meetings over at the Burger King by Washington Library, right? By Harold Washington.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was one of those kids that when a kid, you want to have a little club, a crew. You had little passwords and code names. And so having that kind of energy from other people that similarly came through tough environments and we're trying to figure out who we were out here helped shape me. You know, sometimes when you go out there, you're in the city, you pick up some bad behavior as well, but overall you figure out how to grow through it. Like,
we were young, dude, you know what I mean? Teenagers, and we was out being rebels anyway. So that all that comes in, it's no
experimentation and maturity.
Yeah, it's nothing. You know, we're not here to promote all anything negative and stuff, because this is innocent hip hop. You know what I mean? This is the culture. We was coming up and we was out here in the streets. We was out here, you know. I mean, so what do you think was gonna happen?
I mean, that's the reality is when you think about
we could have been gang banging, we could have been killing, we could have been robbing people. We wasn't doing none of that. We was trying to rhyme. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like as men of color, right? Black and brown men, like we don't really have a place to have a voice in the center of the room or to be on stage or feel comfortable with and have that confidence that other people grow up with. So we were finding those spots, right? If you got on a mic and you got 30 people, 50 people, 100 people cheering you on, you feel a definite confidence and a swagger that you would have never had before in your life. And so I remember battling outside the Rock and Roll McDonald's with the whole parking lot full.
That's another spot, right?
Yeah, so I kissed, like when you come again, when you've never had that kind of experience, that privilege, that confidence, and you walk into a space where you have that, you're going to continue kind of like building off of it and chasing it and trying to figure out how to be who you are. And you know, like politically, because we'll rewind.
We'll go back to it. Yeah.
Like that is where I learned a lot of my political thought before I even knew it. Right. Like, when you grow up listening to KRS-One, listening to Public Enemy, listening to Tribe, listening
politics
to Nas,
was in the culture,
right? Right. Like they talk about these inequities and inequality out here, and how you're in a system where you're being oppressed. And so I grew up knowing that was how I view life. Not even knowing that was politics, right? So I think growing up the way I did through hip hop culture, through learning that, and then also learning how to hustle, get your name up, promote yourself, be an entrepreneur, like those things together taught us a lot of skill sets that, you know, most people who grow up in privilege learn in a boardroom or something, but we learned out here in the streets of Chicago. And
they get the debate team and they get to do all these things in these safe places, but we just out on the block.
Hey man, that debate team ain't got nothing on off the top. I'm telling you.
Not at all.
Speak about off the top, man. So you freestyle everywhere from NUR, you know, every college radio station you always hit up. You had a circuit, like every time a project was going, you and Pugs, I'm saying, had a network of things y'all would do. Y'all go to these damn stores, you go to the radio shows, and then we got into promotions and all that. That's when we learned a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And that's why I actually start seeing you start getting into more corporate, you know what I mean? Your corporate walk right there, your corporate stride. But before then you was battling. You was in the Scribble Jam. You was in the Blaze battle. You know what I mean? Those are, win or lose, those are big achievements. You know, and even me as an MC, I didn't take it that far. You know what I mean? I remember being at the Scribble Jam with you. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm cool. It's
that's
too
a lot of
crazy
people
shit going on. It's too much crazy because that was a culture clash in itself.
Oh yeah,
because people was coming from even further places.
And all this other stuff going on.
And the Midwest rhyme, like the Ohio, Minnesota rhymes were different than like where we grew up. Because Chicago's still very much Chicago compared to those other cities. And like a lot more West Coast freestyle fellowship kind of styles that were coming up.
Right.
It was a wild environment.
It was wild. But you definitely was in there with the dogs. You was battling Idea and stuff. Rest in peace. You know what I mean? You got real close with Idea and Slug actually throughout I mean, all our careers.
I think, you know, at the beginning of it all, we're all just trying to find a voice and trying to find some kind of attention. And I think the battle rapping led me to like meeting the Mole Men, and I saw they were hustling and kind of getting into their corporate independent label mindset. And I think that taught me a lot about how to refine my natural ambition and hunger.
Word.
And then, you know, they're the ones that helped me kind of go to Rocksteady in New York for the first time in the 90s, and then go to Scribble.
Yeah, I went with you too. Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, and doing the road trips, going out there performing in Florida, and like, it expanded. Like, I always think about, man, I think I forget what Common song it is, but he's like, oh, it's Respiration with Black's Not Common, where he's like, I thought, what is it talking about? I asked my guy to imagine how the world's
going past downtown.
Right, he ain't never been past downtown.
Downtown, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I talked to him.
That line stuck to my head because that's when it was like, yeah, dude, that's a real fact. You know,
Yeah.
I lived on the low end, you know what I mean? 46 and Woodline and stuff. So you come across a lot of cats who haven't been
Who
even
don't go past downtown.
Go
Dog, I remember
nowhere.
I remember when I dropped you off at the crib. I was like, yo.
You was like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that line, that Common line, if you're a Chicago hip hopper, like, it don't leave you, right? I asked my man how he thought traveling the world sound. He didn't know what to say. He ain't never been past downtown. Like, so to be able to leave, do these road trips and check out all these other things, it just automatically opens your mindset to the possibility of like, oh, like, I didn't think
we drove to New York, y'all, 10 hours in a car.
Right. Yo, I did a Greyhound. That was like 17 hours.
Nah, yeah, you wild.
That's Prime. Yeah, that's what he used to do. Yup.
First New York
no
trip,
matter what.
17 hours on a Greyhound, just sitting up, like can't even move. People got
for sure.
You
hear the smells and all that. Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yo, it was COVID-10, whatever they have back then. It was all through that. So it was wild. But when you want to get out and you feel like there's horizons to break through, like, you're gonna try to do that. And so for me, the more I kept doing it, the more I kept like getting up. I was like, all right, let's see what's next. And I think it led me to be able to accomplish a lot. It was and aside from just accomplishing it, right? Like scoreboard stuff, but the people you meet, the relationships you build, like getting to find out, like, if it wasn't for hip hop music, like, I wouldn't be by where Cos lives or by where Pugs is at, or really look at the difference in the neighborhoods in Chicago and like have an understanding of what the reality is like for different people. So, it's a gift, man. We've all been really blessed by this kind of culture and this music that brought us all together.
Yeah, man.
So let me ask you something. So, and I'm sure in this answer is going to be able to segue where we want to go. Talk to us about how did you decide on Prime, Optimus Prime, as your name?
So, okay, all right. I went through multiple.
I know shit.
I went through multiple names, right? And they were all kind of like whack or comic book here. Like I was like Murdoch for a second because I was like, oh, Daredevil, right? So I tried to be a graph writer, but I didn't have a style. Like, it was just not dope. So it was like a couple markers up, and I was like,
I could be honest.
Yeah, and then freestyling, like, I think I was just rhyming. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know I got the name at Navy Pier because I used to be able to do like different styles of different rappers. So I do like a DMX voice and do a freestyle and do that, like, and then somebody was like, "Oh, look, you changing like Optimus Prime or whatever," and like
transforming.
And that is that's how it locked in. So I was like, okay, cool. Somebody said it. That sounds kind of slick. So I was like rolling with that. And then, you know, after a while, you take it, and then you're like, oh, now everything, I got to make the noise every time I rap or whatever. Like, it got too novelty. And so I had to drop off the Optimus for a second and just do Prime. And so that kind of like stuck for the rest of it. Yeah.
Okay. And so you had that transformation.
It's interesting. I had the same regards about Cosmo Galactus a little bit. I had to switch it up a little bit, but I'm back to Cosmo Galactus. This is my name.
But I never seen, you know what's wild? I never felt that about yours because you had the Cosmo in front. So it felt like its own thing. Like the Galactus is there. And I even saw the logo on the pictures you took.
Yeah.
Still got the vibe.
Yeah.
But the way you made it was flying. It was like its own. Whereas for me, I was like, oh, it's Optimus Prime. It's like Hasbro all over it. I was like,
Right, they would have came for
switch
you.
that up. Right.
They would have came for you the same way they came for Common Sense and the same way they came for Smith and Wesson.
Well, here's the funny, but I never make it that big. But it was still like, I used to do the little DVR covers with little Optimus Prime drawing the logo. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I just knew let me try to figure out as I was kind of getting up in my rhyme age, I guess, to kind of carve out a little more of it. So it was cool though.
That's real. That's real. So now you went through that phase. You traveled all over in the name of hip hop, in the name of the culture. You grew up coming from immigrant parents. They came from Guatemala, right?
Yep.
Okay, word. Do remember that. So now, how did you transition to deciding that you wanted to get involved in community work and dealing with balancing out the inequalities?
Yeah, I mean, it's really wild. So my whole life, I was going through a whole conflict early on before I even got to politics, right? I was touring nationwide. I'd done the Blaze Battle, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was at UIC, and I was trying to get my degree to teach English, right? And at the same time, I was working at AT&T selling phones at a mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just in conflict. I was like, yo, I'd gone through a couple challenges when I was with the Molemen that made it I felt very alone and isolated out while on tour.
Okay.
And it wasn't good for my mental health. I recognized it later that a lot of us can feel alone. When you feel alone in a crowd, there's problems. It's just more challenging, right? People act like they know you, but they don't really know you. And I just couldn't rock with that. So I was like, you know what? Let me ease back from trying to do this rap thing that hard. And then I was getting paid more selling phones than a teacher makes. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not figuring out the school thing right now.
Yeah.
So I just I went up in corporate. And so next thing I know, I'm selling phones. I'm doing real well. I'm taking the battle rap mentality and I'm being the best in the country on selling phones and running my own store,
Okay.
And so from there, I went into corporate and became an executive and did marketing for the state of Illinois for AT&T Internet and Cable. So I was kind of got my degree online while I was working. So my whole life was just different,
Word.
And so I was still kind of working on little projects here and there. Let me do a cameo. Let me do middle ground. Let me find some little young homies, right, to get them to work on stuff too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until late mid 30s, maybe early 30s, where I met my wife. We all go through our ups and downs in life, period. And you're like, you know what, let me just hone in on me, found my partner, and then we had our kids. And so I think something about all that kept grounding me in a different world, right?
Right.
But I think politically, the first guy that had me paying attention was Obama, just because it was like a glitch in the matrix, bro. It was I don't think anybody in that moment thought it was possible as much as we all hoped it was possible.
Right.
And then you see it happen, and it just kind of, even if you weren't political, you're like, man, something just happened. I gotta make sure you
So
can't not.
that resonated because I do remember the times those speeches and stuff, and especially in Chicago, it was pretty huge. It resonated with everyone. And
and you said it, and it's a Chicago guy, so it was
right.
It was just a whole, like I said, glitch in the matrix, complete paradigm shift, and so that was the first thing, right? But then to keep it 100, for people who had a lot of great hopes for Obama, I think hit some but didn't hit others.
Right.
So then you become a little more jaded about politics and start paying attention. Mm-hmm. But he was a dude that had me wanting to learn more. Let me go watch West Wing. Let me go, let me get put up on game a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
And
watch some Scandal.
Yeah, right. and just kind of just okay, this is interesting actually. Learning it.
Yeah.
So, flash forward to Bernie running for office.
There we go.
And he starts talking, and he sounds to me like my old rap records. Why is this dude, this 74-year-old white dude from Vermont, sounding like a Public Enemy record or like a Nas? Why is he saying things about inequality that are so plain spoken and easy for me to digest, and making me feel validated for how I felt my whole life watching this? that I just started fanboying super quick. So next thing I know, I'm like sharing all this stuff on MySpace with everybody that follow me because of rap. Like I was like, yo, man, if y'all up on this rap game, y'all need to get up on this dude Bernie, because like he's speaking truth out here.
He's spitting.
Oh boy, you went hard. Yeah.
Oh boy, got bars. So I'm sharing it, and then somebody that I knew from when I was battle rapping out there, was like, yo, I see you putting out this Bernie stuff. My brother is an alderman. We want to invite you to come meet Bernie because he's going to be in town. And so we want to invite you as a local Latino leader because you know. And so I was like, I'm local. I'm Latino, bro. Like, okay, whatever y'all want to be, like, sign me up, right? So I ended up going to a little chicken shack called El Pollo Feliz over in Little Village, where he was happened to be. And so I'm here like, I got to get a picture with old boy, like, so I go get the picture, get him laughing. And immediately, because I'm like, well, two things happened. So first I got geeked because of that, because I got the picture, right? And then two, I watch these aldermen that are in that space, and they're like these dudes with jeans and blazers on. And I've been in corporate now for like, 8 years. Right. So I look at them and I'm like, I can do that. So like, this was the first time my brain clicked about that kind of like role. Like, oh, I could, like, it's the same thing when I was battle rapping. Like, I go beat him.
I could do that.
Let's go.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
It went from being this fantasy to like, not even a fantasy. It went from not even a concept to be like, oh, I'm in the room with these guys. I could do that.
Right.
Okay, right.
So that occurred, and then getting the picture with Bernie, I went to my like young ignorant self where I'm like, I gotta get this dude elected so I can tell the shorties that like, yo, that's me with the president in the picture. You know what I mean? Word. So that geek got me geeked enough to get. Am I lying?
Nah, you real. That's real.
I got that over the mantelpiece. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. You see, with the president, kids. So next thing I know, I go on Facebook and I ask people like, who wants to go with me to Iowa to knock on doors for Bernie? So in 2016, go to Davenport, Iowa, just to knock on doors, and like that's the first thing I've ever done politically. Then I come back to Chicago, and it's in March before the Illinois primary, right? So each party has to pick who they're going to put up for the main event. So the primary in Illinois was happening in March. So I was like, you know what? Let me throw a fundraiser so all my hip hop heads that ain't never voted in life could learn about this dude and like go vote, and we could like help. So I did it at the Wild Hair over in Lincoln Park. I called it Burn Fest. So I invited like rappers. I think Pugs performed at that one. I think
Pugs, like, Shadow Master, Audacity.
Yeah. And then we had a reggae group come out. We had a rock group come out. We had a James Brown cover band that was doing like playing with the band out there. And in between that, I'd find little organizers and people that were political to kind of speak. So like, yo, it was crazy. So I got J. Maw Green back before he was J. Maw Green. To go get on the mic. All right. So I'm gonna give you. Look, I'm gonna keep it 100 because y'all. So I met this dude at Bernie events. I was like, yo, can you come and speak to the thing? He's like, yup. I put him on the flyer, right? And it's a fundraiser to raise money for Bernie. So after I put him on the flyer and printed it out, he calls me up like, hey, bro, I'm gonna have to charge you to go up. And I was like, what you mean charge? Like, you could have said that before I had you on the flyer, my guy. Like, I gotta charge you like $50. You're making money off of this. I'm like, I'm raising money. All right, cool. Paying him 50, right? Right. This dude shows up, right? Yeah. Why does he perform 3 R&B songs?
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
All that to say, J. Maw Green been J. Maw Green since day one, my guy.
Right.
Kind of hustle. So he came in singing some R&B, sensual chocolate or whatever. It's like ridiculous. Yo, that dude's crazy. So he comes out and does that. And again, all these other people start speaking, but it was cool. Like, again, I wanted to bring together different kind of vibe and energy in different communities and people who ain't never got politically involved, because that's how I got in. Right. So next thing I know, somebody sees everything I organized and they were like, hey, we want to train you to become a community organizer. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, what's an organizer? A trapper keeper? What are we talking about? I have no idea. And they were like, no, come on through for a day. Because what you've done is you've organized people about something you believed in, and you had them turn out, and you had them donate money, you had them volunteer. And so we think that you should come check it out. And then come to find out, this group called Reclaim Chicago was building up a candidate pipeline for people that were running for office.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, let me see what this is, because I didn't know I could get into this world, right? And so next thing I know, here's how like brand new I was. I was like, all right, if I'm gonna run for office, let me pick a small map, right? It's gotta be the small one because that'll be the easiest thing to go for. So, what's a ward? I'll do a ward. Like, bro, there's a lot of easier things for people that want to start out. I just started with that because I was thinking just a map.
Right.
Next thing I know, over 3 years, we're knocking on doors. And the guy who was here had been here for 36 years. The guy by the name of Patrick O'Connor, who was in office for 36 years, 9 terms back to back.
And you talking 40th ward?
Yeah, 40th ward. He was a mayor's floor leader, the chair of finance. So he was like, one of old school machine dudes and like locked in. So I just spent knocking doors for 3 years. Just, how can I help? Let me learn. And I guess I'm dropping some game for people who might want to run. So,
that's real.
Important, yeah.
So the first thing you do, you come out like, I'm gonna change the world and equality and peace.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's get into it. Yeah.
And then you knock on the door and they'd be like, bro, can you fix the tree trim? What's up with these potholes over here?
Right. And you're like, pothole.
I need you to fix these streets. What's up with my garbage? And so I think because I'd worked retail and customer service like a lot of us did growing up, immediately my mind clicked and I was like, oh, okay, this is what you're asking. Got you. So what can we do to improve? What would you like to see improve? What things can we do to make better? I took that information and then continued to build up what our case was for being like the new person in the seat. 5 people ran for it. We ended up making the runoff against O'Connor. He spent $1.5 million against us. We raised like $200,000, but ultimately won. And so I became, we knocked down the biggest.
Yeah, you was the underdog.
The underdog won.
Aside from the mayoral race, this was like the biggest race in the city. And and as a grand prize, we got a pandemic in the first year. So
put you to work.
All yours.
Right. But I'll tell you, it was it's a great evolving education and community, and what community can do when they come together to find our own solutions. Right? Like we went through a pandemic. We're going through this migrant mission right now. There's a lot of challenges that we face, but when we all come together and recognize we got a common cause and a shared struggle, I think there's a lot of things we get done together. So it's been the job of a lifetime.
That's an interesting point that you mentioned when you talked about how your skills working in retail and how that was kind of like one of the first skills that you realized you could apply to this. So it's almost like you're providing good customer service.
100%.
Yeah.
What I tell the neighbors is like, look, I'm the store manager for the ward. I'm the complaint department. Like what you do is you come to me and you tell me, hey, this doesn't go well. This needs to get fixed. When's this construction going to finish? And it absolutely is. Public service is customer service. The public is your customer, right?
Right.
And so I think that, a lot of times people look at, and this is the thing that being in that room with Bernie kind of clicked for me, is that we think of these people that are elected as being smarter, or they come from rich families, or they're lawyers, or, there's all these other things that you think you're supposed to be in this role, when really it's a customer service role. So if you care about people, you care about improving services, you care about listening and make sure people are heard, you can get it done. And if anything, people that have been through the hardest marginalization, the hardest oppression, are sometimes the best fitted to figure out how to make these improvements, because other people ain't never lived through it to know even how to fix it. So it's 100%.
Word. So what's interesting also, so now you're coming from where you came from. You talked about the inequalities and understanding and seeing the other side from the hip hop language and what we learned in that culture. And we talked about a lot, from Public Enemy and all these groups that spoke to the problems that exist both in the world and the problems in politics, not being able to address those problems with a viable solution. What you just did on the other side is you said, I stepped in and you were optimistic. And you said, I can do this, or I can do that. Let me connect the dots and make this work. So my question would be for people out there who have the jaded mind, for people out there who really don't understand, because everybody thinks politics is only the big show. They only think about the presidency and that campaign and that idea. what is a good starting point for a person to go if they want to reintroduce themselves to politics without all the fluff and without all the flaring lights? Like, where do they start, and what is the benefit for them to get involved, whether to vote or to participate?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, all right, I'm gonna keep it 100. So if somebody would have said this to me before I got involved, I'd be like, "You corny as hell!" Like, because we're kind of programmed to think that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're in an environment where you gotta struggle and you ain't catching a break, right?
Right.
Then when people tell you like, "Man, you gotta vote," you be like, "Get your," you're not gonna, it's not gonna resonate.
Right.
You're just not believing it. And here's the thing, it's intended for you not to believe in it. Like government, the best way I could describe it is a vehicle.
Okay.
It's a car. It can take you where you need to go, but if you're not willing to get in the car and get in the driver's seat, there ain't no place for you to go. And so the thing that I learned through campaigns is this, is like, when you're running for office, in order to maximize the amount of time and energy you have, which is a short amount of months to win an election,
right,
you are trained and you look at these tools you have to focus on the people that vote religiously. They go to every single election, not just the big ones, the little ones, they go to all of it.
Okay.
You literally can tag and know people. I know how many elections they've been in the last decade, right? Yeah. And you target the ones that have been voting the most. So they tend to be the ones that are most heard when it comes to what you want government to look like, what solutions you want to address first. That's who you're talking to, right?
Okay.
Because the people who win are trying to get those votes. And so that ends up being the strongest feedback you get. So
that becomes your base.
100%. I mean, your job in between elections is to kind of maximize and bring more people into it.
Okay.
But when you only got a couple a month,
you focus on them.
Right. And so if you're not voting, you ain't even a blip on the radar. You're not getting a knock at the door. You're not getting a phone call. You're not getting a text message. You're not getting an email.
Okay.
And so your voice isn't heard through that lens. Now, if you grow up in a world like we have, in a country like we have, where if you're black, brown, broke, disabled, queer, you ain't at square one, like the quote unquote majority, you're going to be very cynical about even getting engaged in that process, because you're going to watch people that don't look like you, that may not reflect your experience, being the ones in front of the mic. And as much as you want to tell them like, yo, I need you to amp up, like you sound real chill, when things don't feel real chill around the neighborhood. It's hard to do that, because if you're the elected official, you're speaking to everyone, those who are privileged, those who vote the most, and those who vote the least and have the hardest time. And so I think that what we do have to get our folks involved in is voting. It is like, and it's a lot easier now. You can go online and find out everything about these guys that are running and what they stand for and why these elections are important. Like right now, we've got the elected school board, right? So Chicago has never had an elected school board, ever.
Oh, wow.
They've all been appointed by the mayor. Mayor picks
people.
Right.
Okay.
This is the first time there's going to be an election this November to vote on your, it's going to be 10 different school board members across the city. The mayor gets to appoint 11, and then the next election, it'll be all 21,
that's
go
massive.
run for it.
That's crazy.
Right. So think about everything about your local school, how you want to see that improved, if you got kids or not, or if you just want it to be a better environment because of your neighborhood. Yeah. You want people that are invested in your neighborhoods that know what's needed there. It's going to be the first election. So Ron Fest is running.
I was just going to bring them up. I was just about to bring them up.
I think District 10, if I'm not wrong, could be. But he's running for school board. So those are important. Or there was a police accountability board that ran a year and a half ago, and they were the first people that their job is to hold police accountable. So these things are important. But what we got to do, I believe, as hip hop community, city kids, is create the kind of spaces where people don't feel like they need to know the whole Wikipedia of politics just to come in and talk about it or hear about it.
Okay.
Right?
That's okay.
If you walk into it, look, I love that this is the Fly Nerd group, because we're all nerds.
Right.
Straight up. Whether it's Dungeons and Dragons, or comic books or, you know what I'm saying, or anime or whatever, politics is the same thing. It's just some things that people view as more quote unquote acceptable or whatever. But everyone picks their thing that they nerd out about.
Yeah.
And so politics is the same way. So imagine if you don't know anything about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and you just go to a convention, you just go stand there feeling intimidated, not even know how to engage, not even understanding the language.
Right. The rules, all that.
Right. Like, so if you don't create the kind of political spaces that are inviting the people that have never been part of the political system, they're not going to feel comfortable to ask the questions. And so I think that's probably a good first step. For like people that came from where we came from. It's like, how do we create that? Like, I kept wanting to do a thing called Politic Ditto. You know, take the old Raekwon.
We should work on that. We should work on that.
Yeah.
But it signals to people like, oh, okay, I want to go see what this is. And then you can talk about these things in a way of like, hey, like, what's going on in your neighborhood? Because the same things that created hip hop are the same challenges that have us. That we're
it's a cry for help. It's a cry and alert. You know what I mean? It's like
100%. Like, think about it. In New York, back then in the 70s, I think it was the mayor, the governor, not the mayor, removed the music programs out of the school system. Right? So now they had no music programs when they used to. So what do those kids do? They go to find their parents' records. Yeah. Right? They go to figure out some other thing and start throwing these little park jams to create the kind of environment of things that were taken from them in the school system. Right?
Right.
And then you hear these rap records. And NWA talking about what it's like in Compton. You hear about Mobb Deep talking about what it's like in Queensbridge. That all these different social stresses, this pressure, this oppression we all feel.
Right.
It does two things, right? It busts pipes or creates diamonds. And here's what we're seeing through this art form. So those pressures are still around. It's making sure people have the voices, because not everybody can rhyme or rhyme well, clearly, this day and age. Right? But you got to find ways to express yourself and get that out. So I think it's a good way to create that.
Okay. Hey, you still like Eminem? I tell you, this dude was blasting Eminem. Oh boy, we couldn't get enough of this dude.
But that was because of your personal experiences with him.
No, but look, it was cannabis before Eminem. It was like the way these guys could rhyme is just phenomenal. And like Eminem is still top tier technical rhymes. Like he rhymes, right?
Yeah.
But am I playing those albums? Am I like, no, not really. Like, and like no
disrespect, but the talent, the skill set is still there.
And he still puts up the numbers,
right?
Yeah, compared to like a Drake or like, so it's like I can't. It may not be for me, but obviously like right now that Pete Rock and Common.
There it is.
All day, every day.
That's it.
Burner, back to back, nonstop.
That's it.
And he's Chicago as heck. So the fact that he just like, that album to me is so classic and brilliant off the gate. As soon as I heard it,
from the jump.
Yeah, it's like, what y'all doing?
Single before the album even dropped.
Yeah.
That, like the new Lupe stuff, like the Chance to Premiere, the Chance to Premiere joint. Like Chicago is like
on fire right now.
We on our shit.
But it's a lot of like I'm bumping stuff like that, or like Griselda stuff, or I feel like it's dope that we made it to this age. I remember being like laughing at our parents with the little oldies, whatever. I'll put up it'll be playing 90s all day on my Spotify list, and then I'll have a playlist of like, here's the 2024 jams that I like.
And kids like, all right, dad.
Right. I'm like, yo,
enough.
For me, this ain't for y'all. Yeah.
That's real.
So are you aware of any other the new MCs in Chicago that like the Fillmore Greens, Vic Spencers? Do you have you heard any?
I've heard some, and it's not, I don't know, man. Like I think the thing that I do recognize about myself is like I definitely am like a New York hip hop kid. And I think Cosmo, you know that from back in the day.
Oh, I definitely know. Yeah.
Like when they would come to me with like
Premiere.
they were like freestyle fellowship, bro. The new AC alone.
Yeah,
and
dude, dude, we called us weirdos and everything. Get that shit out of here. Get that shit out of here, man.
I'm gonna tell you how hardcore, and I was wrong. I will say I was wrong. It's on record now. All right.
Okay.
Like I couldn't get into De La. I couldn't get into Doom.
Yep.
Wow.
I'd be like, nah, bro. Like, give me some Mobb Deep. Give me some Nas. Give me even Jay. I was hating on for a while, but I was like, I want the backpack.
You want that
premier Pete Rock? Like, boom bap has to be at the center. So like, it's definitely grown since. Like, it's a lot more West Coast. Like, I play De La like crazy. I play Tribe like crazy. But yeah. It was. You know, it's wild. I'll tell you. And Cosmo, you understand because you was there. A lot of people
I'm getting the flashbacks, man. I'm getting the flashback.
Like you know, like
long
the
debate.
little rock kids, the little rock heavy metal kids be the angriest ones and be like, I was kind of like that level with my hip hop stuff. It was like, nah, you can't, you don't even know, son. Like
the purist.
He was anti everything else.
Yeah, it was like, yo, that's soft, bro. It's soft. Like, and it wasn't. That's the thing that's cool about growing up. It's like
you can look back.
Okay, man, calm down, bro. Calm down. There's a whole lot of energy over there. Relax. And so it's to be able to grow out of that and go like, no, man, music is music. It ain't got to be the most hard rock dude.
Right. Yeah. If it was that or nothing with this guy, man. It was boom bap or nothing.
If you get a chance, there's a new joint that just dropped Chicago called Bar Mitzvah.
Okay.
And it's with Neek and a whole host of artists.
Fillmore, this dude, Rufus Sims. He's pretty dope too.
Yo, send me the link. I'm down. Bro, because I wasn't even like, I'm telling you, I think about it, and it's only because Cosmo is here and is bringing it all back. Like, okay, again, I can say fully I am wrong, but back then you couldn't play Dilla around me. I mean,
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. It was countless debates with this dude, and
just dissing all the gems,
but it showed his enthusiasm for the culture, but
and you dedicated to what you dedicated to.
Yeah, very dedicated.
It was very battle rap, hardcore, like MOP. It's gotta be.
And Gangstar Foundation.
Yeah.
And if it was West Coast, right, 100%. And if it was West Coast, it had to be Dre. If it was Dre related, okay.
Nothing else.
And Snoop, right, for sure.
So you wasn't doing the Razzcast, hieroglyphics, or none of that?
Okay, so I would do 92 Infinity for sure.
Okay.
High Road, of course, got bangers. When it got to everybody wearing the 3i t-shirts, I'd be like, come on, man, like y'all are going extra. No, like, and Cosmo know what I'm saying. It was that Razzcast for sure, like the first album, right? Nature the Threat, Sick, etc. Sick.
Yeah.
Soul
on Nice remix.
Right, but it was more growing up, and like that's all changed, man. The amount of music and the feel and the vibe that it brings and the energy that you can get across through hip hop in a way you can't do other music. Like, I play Doom all day. I play Doom back to back every day.
That's real.
That's dope.
And that's not an artist that I don't think a lot of people come up are up on Doom out of the gate. I think he's an acquired taste.
It takes an accidental hearing when you're not listening and it's in the backdrop, someone else playing, or you in the car, you someplace, and then I notice people be like, "Man, what is this?"
Well, like Atmosphere in Minnesota, like those guys, they just developed their own sound in a way that allowed me to appreciate like different things. Like Doom, the amount of lo-fi beats before lo-fi was lo-fi, right? Like,
right.
So Absolutely. It's just yeah, man, yeah. It's, like, you and me, I can talk about this all day. For sure.
Yeah, man. Shit, man. Yeah, because dude, man, so much history, dude. So let's get into like processing albums and stuff. Like you was making projects, and what was your?
Sorry.
Wait, what happened?
No, well, there were projects. There was albums.
Yeah, so you know
okay.
Yeah, they were albums. I know what it is, but yeah.
I mean, that's our album.
But that was still that was still manufacturing your product. That was still being entrepreneur, man. I mean, was that just all the hustle, or because I seen you and Pugs, man, y'all had something every week up in the
I mean, like I think the battle rap part was like, I want people to know who I am. and that's
Yeah.
cool and all. But if people can't remember what you're saying because you're just out here freestyling, like it ain't the same. Like people might remember a bar or two, but they don't really know like who is this guy, you know? Like, so for me, I think there was definitely a part of me that wanted to record songs and like figure out a way to like do the 316s in the hook and make that get a certain feeling and have people like those joints.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we definitely I got some notoriety off of a couple joints that I did, and then start from there to do EPs. You put 6 songs together. Now you call it a project. You figure out how do you tie in the skits and the interludes to make it a vibe,
to make it fit.
Yeah. So it was less. I think the hustle part was like, I got to get my name.
Because this process ain't done no more, dude. That's what I'm saying. This whole.
I think it is, but it's just done differently. So
and certain people do it.
Like, think about it. Back in the day, you had to find somebody that could record and had a studio, and you had to pay for studio time. So
somebody to master it.
That was a whole hunt. Like, where am I gonna go? Who got beats? Let's go record, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was like, it's like, man, what's up? You know, like let's figure it out. So that the hustle part was, how do I accomplish the goal of making sure that people respect me as an artist, and what's the best way to get that done? So you start recording 5 or 6 songs. Now you got a tape. Cool. Now I got a tape. Let me go see people check it out and go to Tapes in Chicago with a bag full of tapes and be like, yo, let me go battle everybody and then sell the tapes so people know, I get busy as well, right? So when and then to Cosmo's point earlier, like, all right, but that's just in person. So how am I going to get on radio to make sure people hear me? Oh, I got to go to HBK or I got to go to NUR. And what record stores sell this stuff? So like, then you start building your network and your circuit of where you're gonna go. And you know, I think the thing that we didn't have the luxury of is we didn't have studio like all day, every day. We had to figure out, write your song, practice your song. You got to go in, bang it out. You got an hour or two, and you got to leave.
Yep.
Actually, Cosmo was on the first song I ever recorded. It was me, Chips,
Q-Billa, Chips,
Q-Billa, Pugs.
Yeah.
I think Rip maybe might have been.
I don't know.
Chaos was on.
Chaos, Chaos.
And
Chaos.
Was wild is that was over here in almost 40th Ward. That first time in that studio, because it was K Solo's homies from here. Remember the studio that it was the DJ Immaculate.
Yeah. Damn.
So we all chipped in. Dude. We all chipped in for studio time to record that first song. Right. And then I think somebody didn't have funds once it was game time. I probably that sounds right to me. I don't know if
it sounds very accurate, and I think I know exactly what happened.
That's right, Penny. Right.
Pentium processor.
And then I because I was all whatever, I dropped 2 verses at the beginning and the end.
And you know what? And Chips
said, "Mine."
Damn it. I had a verse ready, and he was like, "Hey, brother, why don't we just go back and forth?" I was like, "All right," but I wanted to cook. Because I knew it was the lineup with Chaos. Like, God damn it! No, wait, I want to cook. Oh, brother, let's go.
So it wasn't just all hustle. It was like, man, we get a chance to actually record. Like, that was just a whole different level of being an artist. And so then you go from there to like, okay, I got on this Moment Ritual album, but I also got to go to New York and go put other artists together. Like, yo, I got Breeze Everflowing. I got Mr. Metaphor is at Pumpkinhead Studio and like recorded a song with them. Then I met Jedi Mind Tricks. Like, we were just executive produce other cuts. And that allowed me to really think about how to put songs together and put crews together and do scam artists and do middle ground. And so I think it's it's a whole experience that a lot of kids now don't get. But what they get is they can record anytime they want. Right? They get a mic hooked up to their computer and they're just ready to roll.
Whether they're ready or not.
Well, that's the thing. They just crank out.
Yeah.
I just think that the standard, the bar is
the bars are low.
The MC bar is lower for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is like, man, if you have 5 or 10 years to just straight record stuff, you get better as an art. And some of the vibes
you would think.
And some of this stuff just isn't for us. Like,
well, that's the key.
Attention spans are just shorter. That's just a reality for everybody. We're on TikTok and everything else. So it went from I need to hear 3/16s, I need to hear 24, 48 bar verses.
Right
like,
now.
Yo, give me 2/16s if the hook better be hitting, or else I ain't trying to hear it.
I ain't even trying to hear from the jump. Yep.
And if the vibe ain't there off the top, like, what are we talking?
Yeah,
so, like,
why we here? Right.
Yeah.
So it's consumer demand, right? It's again, it's democracy. It's like yo, the majority is voting for this stuff. That's what they want to hear.
Right. And if you want your voice to be heard, start playing and listening to what you want to hear more, so it gets on the charts.
And the plus side of that is anybody can record. You could find your audience.
That's true.
So you could be the most, gargantuan person out here, super bars everywhere. You're gonna find your audience if you keep putting out products. So
agreed.
I think it's a
consistency.
It's just harder for us as listeners because back in our day, it would be like 2-3 albums a year.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, oh, you don't got that new Nas, you snoozing because that's the only thing you got.
This year that's coming. Right.
Yeah,
Whereas now it's a flood, right? You got Marlon Craft dropping stuff all the time. You got Conway dropping every other 2 days.
You got a filter.
Right. You got Stove God, right? You got
Constant.
So it's like that's the hard part. For us, it's like we're just digging in records, trying to find the ones that we vibe with, as opposed to these being these monumental occasions for everyone that was hip hop to have to get that album.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen as much.
Word. So how are you doing right now in terms of with everything with your ward? How's that working out for you?
I think we're doing, man, we got a lot of development going on. So like, I think the first 4 years I was trying to figure out the job. Again, like my first year, I figured out how do we communicate to people? How do we hear from people? How do we make sure I'm in every neighborhood? And so we had it down pat. Like I had the legs underneath me, and then it was like, oh, guess what, homie? The pandemic. So now we had to figure out how do you, in an emergency world, make sure that people have masks or do a vaccination event. Like we had to organize all that to help people out. And so we became a lot better at that, but also working on development. So a lot of things that we've been doing is like making the streets safer to cross by adding more bump outs, speed humps. Adding more bike infrastructure and bike lanes so people can like ride wherever they need to, right? Like I didn't know because I learned, y'all can laugh. I didn't know I learned how to ride a bike at 42 years old.
Hey,
wait a minute.
Yup.
Shit, man.
100%. So okay, watch this. It's gonna sound real, not brand new. So you grow up in a neighborhood where there's only Latin Kings on the block, and your parents go, "You're not going outside. You're gonna stay inside. You're gonna read these books and you're gonna pray." And that's all you got going on.
That's all we going to do today.
That's all you got. You figure it out, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So then you get to older age and you're like, well, I'm going to learn in front of these kids. I'm going to ask a kid to teach me how to ride a bike. I'm like,
right, with some training wheels.
Exactly. So guess what? Trust you then go through a whole life. So it wasn't until I got elected. So my campaign manager, who became my chief of staff, was like, you know what? The city has an adult learner program. We finna have you learn in front of everybody then.
What?
So she booked it. So of course, me, petty king that I am, I go to a local park 2 weeks before. And I get on a divvy bike and I push myself off a hill to keep trying to learn solo before it even happens.
Shit.
So all that to say, when I learned how to ride a bike at 42 years old and then had to get around, then you realize like, oh, we don't even have a network of infrastructure.
A safe way to get around on the bikes. Yeah.
So how do you expect your kids to go to school, for you to be healthier? So we've been working on creating that in the ward, and we've been doing a really good job. As well as just right now creating more affordable housing, creating north of Lawrence on Lincoln Avenue, creating an art district called Lana, the Lincoln Avenue North Art District.
Okay, dope.
So we created a plaza called the Ainsley Arts Plaza. That's got a stage. You can hook it up, right?
Okay.
Free to book for anybody that wants to perform for anybody. And it's on the corner of Lincoln and Western, so you get loud because you're on major streets.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So the same way we had to go find a club or a bar and try to figure out what a slow night was or pay to get on the mic.
Right.
This is a completely open space to book those kind of events. So the same way you've got the battle for the Eagle in Logan Square, I want us to have some up north and people to come more up north. I want more of I want more black businesses coming up north. I want to like really fight against the segregation the city had by bringing more of it.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a good job of building that. And then the city stuff is where it's wild. It's like trying to focus on these larger issues. The ward stuff is kind of, like I said, customer service. So we've kind of gotten really solid on our game there.
So what's a larger issue? Like, I know this. Yeah, I was just about to say it. You got it.
Number one for me, because I got named to be the chair of the Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't my number one.
A lot of people was angry, Prime. A lot of people. I seen a lot of town hall meetings, including Hyde Park, man. Where
it's a volatile conversation.
I was at the one at Hyde Park.
Yeah, you was the one at Hyde Park. Yeah, you was actually there. So yeah, a lot of people unhappy. It's kind of like split. You know what I mean?
Look, we all know we live in a system where if you're, again, black, brown, broke, disabled, or queer, divide and conquer is a strategy, bro.
There it is.
People out here doing really well while everybody else is fighting for scraps or divided against each other.
Right.
So that was the whole goal, right? I mean, they kind of, the governor from Texas, a Republican, was like, we're going to keep
pushing them over there.
Here, right? You got 45,000 people coming to a city, and then you have to figure out how to address it. You got some federal money to address it, right?
Right.
And here's the reality. Out of the 45,000 people that are here from Venezuela and other countries, only 10% can actually get a work authorization legally.
Really?
That's 4,500 out of 45,000.
So what do you do with the rest?
Actually work legally, right? And then in the beginning, the governor had given 3 to 6 months of rental assistance. And just for clarity, wasn't giving it to the migrants, it was to the landlords that were renting out the apartments, right?
Got you. So it never touched their hands.
Right. So if you're a landlord on the South and West Side, and you're like, yo, I'll house them for sure. Give me 3-6 months, right? So it was never going to be a perfect solution, right? And so you got these landlords making the money, and then keep it 100, some of them may not have the most upkept places. Some of them might not be the best landlords.
Right.
But now you get a situation where you got an influx, a whole bunch of people coming into different neighborhoods. There's going to be culture shock, right?
Right.
But the part that I think it was heartbreaking and hurtful to people in a way that made it sound like anger was if you're in the black community on the South and West Side, you had 50 of these schools shut down and closed. You've been fighting to get them reopened for over a decade. You've had hunger strikes. You've had picketing. You've had people telling you they're reopen, and ain't nothing moving. It's empty buildings in your neighborhoods.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the migrants come, and we got to find a place for them to live. And they're like, guess what? We're going to open the school up.
Yeah.
That is a shock to the soul. It is that much of an injury to live and have to see that. So you're going, so if you're in the black community, you're going, wait, what?
You could do that
You couldn't do it for us.
Right. But you're going to do it for them. And that's the major, that's the main complaint. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the challenge. And how do you solve for that? A couple of ways. Like, I think, the other thing is you got homeless people out here before the migrants showed up.
Yeah.
Tent city everywhere. It's tent city everywhere, son. Yeah.
So this is the reality of capitalism in the U.S. and people being subjugated to not having the dignity of being humans and getting the support systems they need. Right. So what I said when the migrants first showed up is we need to have a shelter system that's for all. If you just do it for the migrants and you don't do it for the other people out here that need it, you're going to have a situation.
Right.
Yeah. And if we were talking about these schools and community centers and you're going to make them into migrant shelters, you better say to people, once this is done, this is a shelter for the community. We're going to keep this thing open and make it what you want it to be. Let's partner up and figure out.
Make it a transition center.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you're giving these millions of dollars to these companies that are doing all the services, you better try your damnedest to make sure they're black-owned Chicago businesses. So they see that there's a money and a mutual benefit in doing it. And so I think the challenge was that when we got a new mayor who was still learning the ropes, he didn't know how to make any of those things happen in the way he needed to. So you end up with not a lot of good options. Like they were going to put a tent over toxic land over on 38th in California for these migrants. So all those things, I think the thing that we got to understand is it was intentional. When the governor from Texas sends that many people over, they want to see that division. They want to see that chaos. They want to see that anger. And
Right.
there's a lot of things I think could have gone differently. So I was at the shelter meetings, like Cosmo, you saw I was at Promontory, other places.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what? Knowing that that's how it's going to feel, we better be out there in front of everybody to at least hear them out, because at least you get the credit for hearing it rather than like, you know. So
no show like this dude. They just doing whatever.
Right.
You the mayor of Dolton, nigga?
Yo, I told the administration, I go, can y'all please need to tell the mayor to be here on the ground, because that's what people are saying. They're like, where's he at?
Yeah, where's the presence?
And so that became challenging because, again, it's unprecedented. It ain't never happened before. So I understand it's not easy for people to know what the right move is, but you have to have the courage to be out in the middle of it and go, look, these are our realities. You got 3 groups of people in this country. You got the indigenous people who had their land stolen from them.
Right.
Completely stolen from them. Like they're just,
no resolution.
100%. Chicago is a indigenous name, but it ain't.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You got that. That's one group. Then you got the American descendants of slaves, right?
Yeah.
Didn't come here on their own. They didn't migrate. They were forced out here.
Right.
To be labor, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone else is a migrant or from migrants.
Facts.
Italian, Irish, Asian, whatever, right?
Romanian.
So you got to understand, why is the situation different? When you got Ukrainians that came in 30,000 deep, you ain't never seen a Ukrainian sleep in a police station.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
But you see Haitian, you see Venezuelans coming, hey, you don't get the same pass.
Right.
Then you recognize the federal government picks and chooses who gets a free pass coming in. And so you'll get, you know, and no disrespect to some folks, but you get your Italian, your Irish people be like, I got here legally, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, when y'all got here, you got a high five at Ellis Island. It wasn't waiting no.
They was handing out. They was handing it out.
It was like, come
you
on,
get a pass, and you get a pass.
And to keep it fair to them, they were also demonized when they came through, right?
Yeah.
Because the Italians weren't white until they became white.
So it became convenient for them to, for the system to use them. Yep.
So why? Because right. That is why Christopher Columbus was such an important figure. It's because it was how Italians could say, "Look, we're more American than all of y'all can."
Right.
We discovered this place.
Right. So you think about the different dynamics and that cause these kind of divisions amongst all of us, and then you have to figure out how to stand in the middle of that to acknowledge the real pain and be able to say, "Here's the situation. If we don't solve for this, they're not leaving.
Right.
There's still gonna be 45,000 people here. They're just gonna be out in the streets begging, and we see some of them.
Already, dude. Yeah, it's sad.
So it's just the part that I wish we would have been better at, and we were trying at the committee, is like, you got to tell the story. You can't let yourself get divided. And I think.
Right.
And you was standing on business about that. You was definitely saying that. And they wasn't trying to hear all that, but you was saying about the division. They trying to divide us, dude. Like, that was the first thing you was saying. Like, nah, they trying to divide us.
Here's crazy, right? When you go talk to people one-to-one, like, you can have that conversation and they'll understand it. Because here's the thing. A lot of folks in the beginning, and it was black folks, were like, look, man, it ain't that we don't care. Hell, we're the ones that be giving up the most. Like, we want people to be safe. But it's like, when do we get ours? Like, that's a different feeling you got to acknowledge. It's not people hating on somebody. It's not anger. It's like, man, like, you
do better.
Break out here. Like, you want us to give up, right? So, like, to be able to understand that and acknowledge it is real. When I talk to anybody one-to-one, we can have this conversation. But there's also people that show up to city council just to get the bag.
To disrupt.
To get the bag, somebody paying them to show up and do that. They got their TikTok views, right? And they be like doing the most. And like they know.
It's wrestling, man.
I'll be like,
the world is a stage.
The world is a stage.
Game, right? And again, even what they're saying, there's some truth to what they're saying. How they're saying it is intended to rile people up. But when you got that going on, you got enough. You got what's going on in Gaza, and people coming with that. There's just a lot of things that are intentionally made to divide, and so at least
and to distract too. It's a distraction, you know.
And like the thing that was cool about Chicago is we just had the Democratic convention this past week.
I was just about to get into that,
And it looked very. There was a lot of unity. People got to see the best of the city, which is great.
Yeah.
Right. Like. But there's also things to be careful of, Because even in a Democratic convention, they were like, we got to make sure the border's strong. You had the most lethal army in the nation, Kamala said on the mic.
What?
Yeah, so like, you know.
So let's get into that because, all right, the DNC was here. It was a week of, man, it was so much events and concerts and all of this other, the convention at McCormick Place and then United Center. Common performing, Busta Rhymes came here, T-Pain.
Fat Joe was here.
Fat Joe, I didn't even know Fat Joe was here. I didn't know that.
I didn't even know he had that type of concern for the Democratic Party.
And that dude, he find a bag everywhere.
Right. That's real.
So, how you feel about all that? Because I mean, all that was going on, but I was watching the convention. I was hearing what was being said. And I don't know, man. You and MC, man. It sounds like an MC battle, man. It's just like going back and forth with the rebuttals and jokes and slander. And what really gets people engaged? Is it? And in addition to that, like you had Megan. Let's
get to it. Twerking. He had a serious problem with the
twerking on the damn convention. Like where do we take this shit serious at? You know what I mean?
So, no, that's real. So like, on the one hand, there was a lot of concern that the DNC in Chicago was going to be a horrendous disaster. That there was going to be protests and it was going to go off the
riots and all that.
Right. And it was the opposite. Smooth sailing, overall.
No, there was protesting, but they shut it down.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't chaotic protests.
It wasn't to the level people were fearful of, and there were still better ways that could have handled some of it. But overall, that went well. Overall, for all the people that came from everywhere across the country to check out Chicago, they got to see how dope Chicago is that we already know.
Right.
Instead of what the narrative is by Fox News, right? So those are all good things. As it relates to kind of the party, what you're talking about, right? Which is like, yo, let's get some rappers in here because we got to get the kids. Yeah. Like, I think there's better ways to have those voices show up. Like, you want to show people that you're young. You know, when the Republicans have their convention, it's the dustiest.
Hogan shows up, you know.
It looks like idiot
Kid Rock
over there. Right.
Right.
So of course you want to make sure that we look like there's more energy in the Democratic Party. So I get
that.
But at root, democracy is customer service. So don't just have people out here dancing for you.
Right.
Talk about what you're gonna do to change and improve those environments that everybody came from. How do you make sure those voices are centered? And so I think clearly the Democratic Party does a better job than the Republican Party, without a doubt. It ain't even close. Which is why people need to go out. They got to vote for Harris and all those things. And also, it ain't like these are saviors out here. It ain't like they got the best solutions. They're saying everything right. They're just better than the opposition. So the conventions are basically pep rallies, and they're Comic-Con for politicos.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's exactly what it is. That's
because there is cosplay going on at the party.
That's what it is. It's a whole industry and
merchant vendors. Industry mix
get
up.
Your swag. Let's get Nick Cassidy out here. Look, we're young. Lil Jon, can you come out? Right.
Yeah. It's to excite you.
You get more attention. You get everybody hyped up, but you can't snooze on what they're saying to you. Like, I don't want no president. I don't want no president talking about we gonna have the most lethal army in the history of the world. Like, that's not who or what we are. This ain't a nationalist competition.
Right.
When the U.S. has been the way it's been in oppressing countries across the globe, you don't want us to be like, yo, we want the biggest guns. Like, that's not who we are. When you recognize that there's a genocide going on in Gaza, you got people out here dying, and you know that there's Israeli hostages as well. The fact that they didn't have a Palestinian voice at all during the convention,
right?
Like, that's not what the Democratic Party should be about. It should be like, look, we gonna hear you out, and we know it's not easy. None of this stuff is easy, but we're representing everybody. So I think like there's things that could be done that are more than just superficial. And I think what I would say to anybody who isn't normally politically involved that maybe is curious about it is these elections are Super Bowls. This is where everybody's got to turn out, get the vote, amp it all up. Once it's over with, don't expect that they solved it all. You got to stay in the game and make sure you're holding everybody accountable making sure people know they can't just chill because they got in the seat. And it's something that needs to be lifelong. The reason why Republicans have the power they do is because they kind of rely almost like religion on this stuff. Like, you're going to hell if you don't vote for these guys. You see what
this is the Christian way to do
Yeah.
it.
And there's a certain mindset and loyalty that comes with that we need to be looking at organizing and being present as the way we do it as more progressives of like, yo, we got to stay in the game no matter what.
Okay.
Because we're not going to get people that are perfect. I ain't perfect. I tell people like, don't trust me. Don't trust any elected official because this isn't about trust.
Right.
It's about self-interest and representation. What's your self-interest as a person living your life and experience, right? And
yes.
What is this person that's representing you doing about what your self-interest is? How are they meeting you and meeting those demands? And like it's customer service, bro. The whole thing. I love it. If you look at it that way and you understand these people ain't superheroes, they're not saviors, or they're gonna let you down and hurt you, then you got a better understanding how this all rolls.
Man, that's a mic drop right there. I don't even think we need to go any further right now.
Shit. All right.
Go vote.
Word. Okay. I mean, that's heavy. We need to have more conversations like this.
Let me ask y'all this, and so I'm gonna turn on y'all because, as it's clear, MCs, myself, politicians know how to talk. We talk all day, but we should be asking questions and listening. So for us at the city level, mayors, city council members, what are the number one issues that y'all think in your neighborhood that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed?
I'll let you go first, Cos.
Well, I just moved up north, so I'm in a pretty nice neighborhood, man.
Where you at now?
I'm I'm around Addison off the Blue Line.
Oh, by my old crib.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just, y'all putting up the little bike things. Y'all don't need to do that in front of my house, though. I want to park the car in front of the crib. But anyway, that's beyond.
That's real.
That's beyond. But I could talk about the other neighborhoods, though. You know what I mean?
Well, let's start with the obvious. Let's just use like an example of like certain areas in the South Side.
Okay.
The South Side still has massive amounts of food deserts, or even social deserts where there's not a lot to do. What I was saying was that like the food deserts in a lot of the areas on the South Side specifically, and also on the West Side. But those food deserts where it's two things that are impacted by that. Number one, the businesses don't come in. And if the businesses don't come in, then those people don't have viable goods and services that they can receive. And that also means that there aren't jobs for people in those communities to work at. And so it's like that is one of the biggest things that I see a lot of, because I know when I go visit certain family members or certain places, and I'm like, oh man, let's go to the store. And it's a troop. It's a hike. You got to leave the community and go to another area for a quality produce store, that's a big problem for me, because I'm really into food and healthy eating and trying to help people eat better. And if I can't offer them go there, it's like they don't have no place to go.
Yeah, but I'll say I agree, because like I had cancer last year, for example.
Oh wow.
And so I've been on my health game super, right? Like working out. And so, but I know that Mayor Johnson's going to set up 3 publicly owned like government like groceries to kind of get those in certain neighborhoods.
Okay.
I think it's a good start. I think for me, both the things you're mentioning, the thing that Cosmo mentioned before we got off, and we didn't even talk about violence and gun violence.
We didn't get there yet. Yeah.
But
is there a real stop to that though? Is that realistic?
I think so. I mean, I think like stop is a hard word, because it ain't like
it's not disappearing from nowhere.
That's what I mean. It's not. Yeah, you can't disappear.
But there's ways to address it, and a lot of it has to be root causes, right? Like, think about again the environment. Why do people got guns on them? Because they think somebody else got a gun on them, right? And you grow up as a kid, you're like, I'm not gonna get caught lacking out here,
right?
So
just that simple.
But think about the environments that create that kind of mindset, and that becomes the crux of it all. Whether you're talking about the grocery stores or whether you're talking like Cosmo, like, yo, I moved up to Addison, so I don't even got the same problem.
Right, I'm just out of there.
But think about it. It's all rooted in the same segregation the city started in.
Right, okay.
When you say something, there's already connotations that people go, oh, black and brown.
Right.
North is white. And so when you think about the amount of investment you got in those parts of town, in the north side of town, in like some Bridgeport, some other areas, right?
Yeah, specific areas.
And you have the operations, you get people that have everything, and then you get communities where you don't have everything. You get people getting arrested. You get people getting in a gang like Defiant Community. You get people that are now growing up without their parents because somebody might have got locked up or shot or killed. It becomes in a horrible way a self-fulfilling prophecy of what those neighborhoods become. And so the hard part is, I think the way you change that is by making sure people can live wherever they want. I want more black and brown folks coming up north, right?
That's where I want to, more affordable housing, affordable living, and more growing natural foods, man. We need gardens. You know what I mean? Community gardens and stuff. Yeah.
You can create the affordable housing, but you also got to make people want to come and not feel intimidated to come.
And that's the key. It's the carceral spaces where you don't feel comfortable because you get the stares or you go into the grocery store and nobody gives you the customer service.
Or you think you get the stairs.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes people just in their own wave, but again, we don't feel comfortable in those spaces. We don't have the privilege to just walk in dolo and be like, we good wherever we're at.
Right.
Like some people do, right? So that mindset's hard. Plus, what that means also is you get more people coming into South and West Side that aren't black and brown. But then people are like, well, now you're coming and taking our neighborhood and gentrifying our neighborhood. So the challenge is that, especially when you're also teaching black entrepreneurship and black ownership, be like, no, you want to own your neighborhoods, own the properties in the neighborhood. You don't want people pushing you out. All those dynamics are really hard because if the reality was, if Chicago was more like New York in the way races are kind of mixed in everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. New York is fully integrated. You can't cheat a neighborhood out in the same manner because everybody lives everywhere.
Right.
But the segregation makes it so that you still are seeing the after effects of what gets invested and what doesn't, which means your grocery stores, your Walmarts or whatever aren't going to go to certain neighborhoods if they don't think they're going to get enough money because not enough people live there to buy products all the time.
There you go. Okay.
And so it's trying to be able to have that conversation with everybody. I think that Mayor Johnson is doing a solid job right now of making sure that some of the South and West sides are getting more investment.
Okay.
But it's got to be in a way that people also feel like, yo, come on. Like, that's what for me, I'm like, I'm trying to get more affordable housing, have more black businesses, more brown, more Latino business coming up north. So people stop thinking about north as being just a white part of town.
Okay.
There's larger integration over like
more integration and more diversity everywhere.
Yeah, like Cosmo's leading the pack. You know what I'm saying? Cosmo decided to come with Addison.
No, I mean that's what I was going to say. Maybe Fly Nerd Group can help lead that mission for you, help assist you with that because
and it's got to be affordable.
Yeah, right? But it got to be affordable. Yeah, so that's on your part.
Yeah. I think that's something that we can help with. When it comes to the public safety piece, it's a recognition of a couple things. We got a lot of people in our movement that are abolitionists and like much love and respect. We also got to recognize that in the world as we live right now, there is a role to police play because there is violence first. I think that we have to talk about what that core functions of police are. I think it needs to be investigation, apprehension, emergency response when appropriate. But they get called for everything. They get called for somebody parking in the wrong spot or a cat stuck in a tree or a mental health issue or substance use disorder. That you need to have other departments dealing with those things so that police can only do a violent crime and at least there's a different
so I was saying there's a level of like crime and problems that certain tiers.
Like if you got somebody in your neighborhood or somebody related to that got mental health issues, they got trauma their whole life because of how they grew up. Calling a cop ain't gonna be the thing that's
not the answer. Right. And they're not trained for that because that's a psychology. They need to understand a lot of different things with that, just like teachers who do special ed. Yeah. Those teachers have to know more.
It could be more dangerous calling a police officer in a situation like so. I think we have to figure out how do we address these larger issues that to me are like the trifecta. It's mental health issues, substance use disorder, homelessness. Right? Okay. Those are three things that are not cop related that are public safety, that if we actually dealt with those, and police focused only on gun violence and like
the actual crime.
All right, I got more complaints than the CTA train lines, dude. The red line. You walk on the red line in the morning, it's like you walking in someone's house, and they get up and look at you like you.
Like, what you doing in my living room?
Yeah, what you doing in my house, fool?
CTA right now
work.
I've been trying real hard and pushing for us to get a new CTA board president because that president ain't good at management. He's good at doing large projects like the red line expansion, but he's not good at doing the customer service part of the job. And so if you don't get a CTA bus system that's reliable, it's on time, right? You're going to get people hanging out there that are targets. Just you go up in the city.
And a lot of people getting robbed on Roosevelt in certain places. Oh, I got another bone to pick downtown. What happened? It changed.
Downtown is like South Loop used to be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the pandemic did a number on it for real.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
But I think what we learned, and this is welcome to capitalism, right, is that people could do this job, a lot of those jobs, working from home and actually have a better balance of life and be able to be equally as productive, if not more so, right? Which means you have less of a need for downtown offices. So you should create those to now become housing and really get those occupied. So you've got people living there, you got more active. Because there's still people going downtown. Like it's still
no doubt.
Absolutely.
But
it's just the vibe is different.
Yeah, it look like the Warriors sometimes.
But now instead what corporate does, because capitalism is capitalism, is like, no, we want to control you 24/7. We want you in the office. Want people watching you. We don't want you to get a break. You know,
we don't trust you to do it on your own.
And here's the reality: they know that they could work you that 9 to 5, and then when you go home, they still got you working at home. Right? So that's the wrong way to address the issue, because you're not going to force people back into this office mindset in a way that's going to lead to the same thing you had before.
Right.
So I think that's the problem, is when you look at the way capitalism affects all this stuff. They're like, they don't care who they burn through. They just want to make $1, as opposed to addressing it holistically and saying, let's create that into housing. Let's make sure we got more people living there. If we got smaller shops that are local in downtown and it's not these big high-end franchises, it ain't the worst thing. Let's just cultivate and grow it up. But, you got to have the skill, the will, and the ability to bring people along that same idea to get everybody moving in that direction.
To galvanize. Okay. That's real.
Super real. So
I think those are the main ones like that I think about that whenever I'm touching down in Chicago on the street, those are the first things that come to mind.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you this. Who's your alderman?
I don't know.
Right.
See?
Osmo?
I don't know.
Right. See? Okay.
You're the only one I know.
I tell you something. Before I ran for office, I couldn't tell you who my alderperson was. None of us, the majority of people can't tell you who their alderperson is. So think about that. All the local issues, your potholes, your tree trims, your garbage, your public safety issues, the bike stuff that's getting built. You still want to figure out your parking spot balance, right? You got to know who your alder people are, because that's the first. Those are the store managers. So each ward has 65.
That's a chain of command. Okay, go ahead.
Each ward has 65,000 people to live in it, right? Out of our ward, maybe a third know who I am. Like, really? I'll be out there to everybody, but maybe a third know how to reach our office, email, all that stuff.
Right.
So you have to find out that piece, because your tax dollars are paying for them. So you're their bosses.
Right.
You're my boss. The tax dollars you pay for my salary. And so if you don't know who your employee is to get stuff done for you in your neighborhood, you're bugging.
On you.
Yeah, that's on you. That's on me.
And some of them will be cool, because like, y'all are both in your 40s, I'd say?
40s.
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you say you voted more than a decade's worth of votes that you guys went out to vote?
No.
Right.
Well, no.
Nah.
No, and I'm not saying to shame nobody. Again, that's the majority of people.
There's no shame.
Huh?
There's no shame.
No,
but no, for real.
Because part of the hustle. If you're not voting, you're not going to be the ones that they're calling to find out what you need.
Exactly.
And you don't know who they are to call and tell people what you need. So then you're going to be like, this system don't even work.
Right.
Get engaged.
And that's the disconnection. That's the mysterious disconnection because you're just in a
limbo state because
we grew up in hip hop. That's politics. That's intentional.
Exactly.
That's meant to keep, because the only people that do it are the people of privilege that have the education to be able to know this stuff, to grow up in families that teach them this stuff. And we don't all get that when we grow up in this world, right?
Right.
So that same mindset that had me back in the day talking about like we ain't finna vote because we don't believe in the system.
Right.
Mindset understands that the real game is to get you to not want to vote or get involved or even find out who to take it to. When in reality, this government is yours. You pay for it. It belongs to you.
Okay.
And like that's the thing that I want to get across to everybody. Go online and be like, what ward do I live in? Who's my alderman? Figure out what the address is. Figure out the phone number and the email.
Okay.
And you complain to them like the most privileged people come to complain.
Yeah.
So you got to flip the same muscle.
100%. Out.
Okay. That sounds real.
That way when you want to find out what's up at the grocery stores, that's who you send it to, right? Hey, what are we doing? How are you promoting it? Like, again, they're your employees. This city's been so messed up thinking the mayor's the boss. It ain't. The taxpayers are the bosses. These are public servants for a reason.
So participation is representation.
100%. Again, you pay for it already.
Yeah.
You're paying for it. You tell me something else in life that you pay for the service and you ain't trying to use it.
Yikes. Just drop the jewel. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
I want to do the big. It's like, now it's got the world is yours. I'll be like, this government is yours. Like that's how.
That's ill. That's ill.
I mean,
there's a lot of syllables to say.
Nah, because that's interesting. Because so you get to some of the people the way they talk, and they talk about the word government and how the etymology leads to control. But you just hit me with the same language, but now I'm thinking about it differently. Like not the government to control me, but for me to control the government.
Yeah, like it's what do they say? The power of the people need to be stronger than the people in power, right?
Right.
Like I'm a democratic socialist. So what that means is socialism is when you believe that if you pool your resources together, you get better results than if you go at it alone.
I like that.
Right. A capitalist means survival of the fittest.
Every man for himself. Eat.
Right.
I'm eating. Who cares what you doing?
Socialism is like hip hop. Let's all. Hey man, you got some records?
Right.
Oh, you got some linoleum? Let's go make a park jam happen. You pull together those resources to get something better than the sum of its parts. Right?
Okay. It's community.
That's what government is. Think about it. Public libraries. Those are your tax dollars, along with everybody else's, put together to pay for that. Schools, the fire department. These are all socialist concepts of how you put all your money together to get better results. Democratic means you got to vote for the decision on what you do with those things.
Right.
And so government to me, that's what it is. It is inherently a democratic socialist project. It is us as a society saying, hey fam, unless you want to go out there and hunt for your own food and build your own house and do it, you're out in the wilderness, we're in this together. We're paying for roads together. We're paying for services together.
Okay.
So now that you are paying for it, you, like me and everyone else, own it. It is yours to do with what you want. And so the difference is when you grow up not having much and not having nothing and being told you're less than, you don't automatically feel like an owner.
Right.
Right? Like that's the Gangstar album for real, the owner's album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
Once you recognize, like, wait, this is mine. I paid for this.
Yeah.
That's real.
You work for me. I elect you, right?
Right.
That's the power that we don't have if you don't start out privileged.
So walk in like you own the place, basically.
Knowing, not even walking like
knowing you own the place.
Know. Yeah, this is
knowledge yourself that it's yours.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what I said to everybody, man. Find out who your alderman is, because that's the lowest one. That's your door to door. And honestly, the most important one in some instances. Find out who it is and make sure they know who you are. You know when like issues come up before city council, we get all these emails, you need to vote for this or vote for that or whatever. Mm-hmm. First thing I look at is where's the address? Do they live in the ward?
So,
let me go talk. Let me see who they are, where they at.
And then you go and chop it up.
They're the ones that keep me in the spot. So of course I'm gonna check and see how they feel. So when you all represent yourselves to those elected officials, be like, yo, I live in your district, bro. Like you don't want me to be mad because I'll be telling my other neighbors not to vote for your ass next time.
Right. Okay.
That's the accountability. Like, am I going to have all the answers? No. But am I going to be straight up, direct, open, and hear from everybody and work to make things better? 1,000,000%. And I think my constituents, my neighbors, respect me that much because they know I ain't in nobody's pocket. I'm going to be straight up about the decisions and let people know how I think about it.
Man, I was scared of you, but I hope you was gonna be in no one pocket, man. I was like, man, I hope no. It's corrupt. It's you think about politics, you think about corruption, you think about Chicago and all that stuff.
The history, yeah.
It's like, it's like I hope you don't get wrapped up in the brouhaha of all that stuff.
Here's the thing you should know, and you should have known since you met me. Never whack. Never happened. Always keep it 100. Because you know why? Because not a lot of people that came from the environments we came from are in these seats. I know the different people I represent in these seats. Just like when I worked in corporate with all these tattoos and the rapper. They want you to be the one that messes up. They want you to be the corrupt.
Right.
They want you to be the shady one.
To make the example.
You got to work quadruple the time on point, never slip, because you're carrying on your back isn't just you. It's a whole community of people you're representing. And so for me, it's always Chicago first. It's always the people that make up this city. It's the most marginalized, and it's the magic 5: Black, brown, broke, queer, disabled.
Sheesh.
Okay.
Those are the folks that are more marginalized everywhere in the city, everywhere in the country. Those are the ones that get uplifted first and foremost. If you're in those categories, we rocking. That's family. So I want to make sure that people understand that much.
Hey, have you heard about the mayor of Dolton?
Yeah. Yo, Litefoot get in there, bro.
Yeah, she's working it out.
That's a character story arc I would have never guessed. That was wild.
Wait a minute, what's Litefoot doing?
She's actually doing the investigations behind the mayor's dealings in which they was corruptly spending money in the funds for Dolton.
That's
finding out that she spent like $40,000 on Amazon alone.
So Litefoot is the one leading that charge.
Yeah, they hired her for the charge. Yep.
Interesting, but I get it. It makes sense in the visual, the optics of it makes sense.
Yeah.
Pit them against each other, type of thing.
Interesting.
Sure. So, Amby, you said you wasn't sure about what's happening in Dolton?
I didn't know that Litefoot was leading the charge against the mayor of Dolton.
He's going to prosecute her on, and so the council voted for her. The mayor vetoed it, the mayor of Dolton, and then they overrode her veto to have her still go in.
Okay, yeah, so she afraid of her.
Yo, Lori Lightfoot is getting her superhero narrative now.
Yeah, Lightfoot going hard.
She going win.
So it's again, this is what happens when your electeds aren't held accountable. When people don't check in time, then people feel like they get, they try to do some shady stuff on them. And so to hear that the city is $3 million in debt when it's a small town like that, people are going to feel
crazy.
That. Yeah. So, like everything else. Justice, it may not move the quickest, but it'll come.
Facts.
And so, whether it was Ed Burke over here in Chicago or the mayor over in Dolton or Trump,
facts.
Karma's catch up at some point. I just think we got to make sure that we're as community able to take care of as many people so that people aren't harmed in between now and then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Things don't fall through the cracks while they're dealing with this issue because there's other issues in Dolton that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed.
Absolutely.
And people are hurting on the ground no matter what. All this stuff is like, it's good drama to watch, but there's real life and there's real people out there that need food, that need shelter, that need service.
Yeah.
And that's what government's job is, right? To make sure we address that.
Okay.
Right.
Man, you hit us with a lot of jewels today.
Yeah, you dropped the gem as usual, man. Thank you.
I think my bars only got better, so I can't.
Yeah, for real.
Hey, speaking of which, you want to throw a few bars out there?
Oh my goodness.
Let's go ahead.
Since I got elected, I've only rhymed twice, like publicly.
I've seen once.
I'll be in the shower, John. But it was once at the Metro for Vocalo Radio. I did, and then we did one at a fundraiser over at Ainsley Arts Plaza, right? I think Cosmo, you were at that one.
Yeah, I was at both. I think.
Yeah. So like, when I do it, it is super intentional because I don't want these voters out here being like, yo, this dude trying to work on a mixtape when he should be fixing these files. Better get out that studio and get you over to this trash can over here.
Right.
I'm gonna get served left and right on the ground if I know my game. So
no, for sure.
All right. Just throwing that out there. See, it was a pleasure talking with you, Alderman
Yes,
Prime,
it was.
Andre Vasquez, man. You always gonna have my vote.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. You real G's do real things, and they move in silence like lasagna. Oh shit! Oh, man.
Look,
oh man.
I want to say first, like, just thank you for the opportunity. Like, thank you for the conversation. Like, I had 2 weeks off, so I got to like unplug a little bit. So this is just
word, just repping you back up.
Yeah, it's just really dope to catch up. I mean, I don't know if Cosmo you saw, but like a friend of ours got shot and killed last week.
Nando, was he?
Yeah, Nando. He used to work at the basement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's now it hits. I seen the pictures, and
this
now
40 years old, man. 5:25 in the morning. He's leaving a bar he was working at. He got shot. I found out like through the back, in between the shoulders, while he was driving.
Oh. Damn.
I'm talking. Life could just right. So
just like that.
So in a real kind of way, like again, like thank you, because if it wasn't for us growing up together in this kind of community, like I wouldn't be anywhere near this kind of position. I wouldn't have this kind of confidence to speak about the issues, and I wouldn't have the experience and perspective to speak about it. So when I'm in city council and when I'm out here dolo, like 100%, like that is what I take with me, because I know that not a lot of people in government have that experience. Like they'll come to me and be like, hey man, I heard you could rap. Can you drop some rickety raps for us? And I was like, hey man, like I can, but no, but I'll also be like, yo, like people out here know me. That's why it's crazy. Right. Is when I talk around, people will come up to me on Prime level when I'm in city council, and they'll be like, oh, what's up? Like,
no.
And these other council members, I don't think they get that. Like,
well, see, that's the see, and you're a fly nerd. That's why, dude. Because I mean, you're from that culture. You're from our culture. You helped cultivate our culture, and you brought that to a different landscape,
to a different medium.
Yeah, to a different medium, and people don't know how to take it. You know, they was trying to use it against you.
Look, I'm glad you brought it up. And I'm to keep it 100. Like they were kind of right to, like, we all know now, being grown, that some of the language we use, some of the people, and how we denigrated people to make ourselves feel better when we felt like we were less than, wasn't the move. So, like I said toxic things for sure. Like, but what I've also shown people is you can own up to that, and you can redeem yourself, and you can make amends for it, and you can make sure that the people that are most marginalized are the ones that are represented, right? You can make sure that they're centered, and you create the space. So it was fair to bring it up. I think that the other reality is, though, there's a different kind of Chicago that I've seen than some of my counterparts that are in council.
Right. Okay. That's what I mean. Like, and that's the inner source. That's the we seen the
fuel.
Streets.
We seen
the fuel.
Right.
We seen a lot of shit.
We growing up, bro. I remember Pugs had to pay for a cheeseburger at the McDonald's on Chicago. We was hurting.
Yeah. And we always share alike. We always like that, man. We was just out.
One thing about it, we had a multicultural, multi-ethnic coalition. We were on the ground just surviving and growing up. That there's a reality to that I don't think a lot of people have the fortune to have lived. Like that resonates with me. When I see people in council and they want to talk, I'm pulling over to talk, because I'm like, yo, I don't know what it's like to be kicked out of Navy Pier by the cops when there was quote unquote curfew
and then we get kicked out and see all the white kids chilling.
Yeah,
I know the reality of what it was like hearing some shots at the Royal and having shot inside the party, right? Or having friends that got killed, or friends that were in gangs, or friends that had guns on them, like, and that's not to glamorize any of it. That's just to show what that reality is like. So when we think about the kids out there now, and people want to villainize that, I got to think about, well, what environments are they rolling in? Why are they in those situations? And what do we need to do as government to make sure that environment isn't there? Like,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I members be like, lock them up, throw away the key, all that, and it's like,
nah, they just need something to do, dude. And that's a lot of recreational programs and stuff that need to open up, arts and all that stuff.
I was the one out here talking the most about not being for the curfew when they put it in. They kicked me out of the Navy Pier, and like,
right, that you know how that feel. You know how I feel.
But then you have these other alders that are like worried about their constituents and won't say that. Just crickets out here. So it's like,
right.
I carry that with me.
Are you in a lonely fight then, bro? You know what I mean? Do a lot of people see your perspective and visions?
I think here's what's wild, right? I think that some people in council will never see it. Like, they ain't never grown up like this, so they'll never really get it, right? And my job is to make sure that we're still cool. So when I need votes for stuff we're working on, or them to come along on something, like, we have a good relationship. So it's not beef, but it's a reality that's different, right?
Okay.
But then you got people that like know what time it is, but won't say nothing.
Yeah, that's the shit I don't like.
And they'll be like, well, my voters may not feel that way, or I don't really want to get anybody angry, or get a certain kind of way. And like, for me, I'm like, look, they're not my bosses, bro. Like, I did not believe ever in my life that I would be in this position ever. If you'd have told me as a kid, Cosmo, you was there 20 years ago, somebody was like,
dude, no one, we would have laughed you out the room. Like, what?
You
nuts.
Right? So I think about the privilege and the opportunity I have to be in this kind of position, representing for people that I've grown up with. That's how I treat every single day out here. And like, so I think sometimes the other elders look at me like some of y'all did back when I was rapping. Like, yo, this guy needs to slow down. Like, can he chill out a little bit? And I'm like, no, because I would have never been here. So I'm using every single day, every minute I got in here to make the city better for the people that got us in here. So if it ruffles some feathers, it might. And I'm trying my best not to, but I'm not going to snooze if I think we can help people.
Right. So be it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. Me and Litefoot once had an argument after a budget vote. We was on the phone talking, and she was like, hey, man, you voted last time for this budget. Now you're turning up. Like, I can't tell if you're with the team or not. Like, people talking.
Oh, Litefoot was
there's the team conversation.
Little Mo Litefoot for showing business.
Look, not even to put on her. That's how most mayors feel.
Okay.
Right? They're like, I'm the mayor now, right? And so, look, Mayor, like I said from the beginning, there's going to be things we agree on, things that we don't. I'd love for us to work on the things we agree on, so that way when we get to things we don't, at least we've got a relationship to understand. Right. I go, but it ain't never been a team thing. I'm independent.
Right.
I'm like, here's the thing, man, because, she tried to, when you get those conversations, sometimes people try to like, they try to insinuate things. And so for me, look, man, this job could end tomorrow. For me, I go, look, when this is all done, I have to go back and look at the decisions I made and if I could live with them. So I'm always going to vote the way that I could live with and stand on that, knowing when I look back, I was consistent and had that integrity. So, it's not and I said even then, I was like, it's not disrespect. It's a reality. And it's not beef. We're cool. We can work. We can figure out a way to talk. But I'm gonna be here to make my case, and we may not always agree. The way I view government is we're all co-workers in this. Ain't nobody off to nobody. And like, let's figure out how we can work together, because if not, the city ain't gonna do better.
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the jewels out here. I gave y'all some.
Yeah, man. It's too much, man. Too much. But it's never too much. It's just.
Nah, this is what the people need.
Yeah.
Look, Cosmo got all Luther Vandross on us. No, I was kidding.
Never too much, never too much, never too much.
So, all right, man, let's sign out, man. Thank you once again.
Yeah, greatly
Alderman.
appreciate this.
Greatly appreciate it. This is not the first time we go and definitely have some more chats. Maybe after the election and everything, we'll pull you up.
We could do a live one up here up north.
Okay, word. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Yeah. So
we need to create those kind of spaces. So I'm down.
Okay. And you know what? I was going to talk to you off camera, but yes, I would like the Fly Nerd Group and you to collab to making things like that happen.
Get our Politic Ditto on. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Ditto. I'm on that. Politic Ditto. So, all right, man. I'm Cosmo Galactus, a.k.a. Slapface Galactus, the final boss.
And I'm Amby Warhol, the Allow You Rock Star.
And we are the Fly Nerd Group. Vasquez, you are honorary member. Everybody that stepped on our show is like Sway. You're a fly nerd, man. So, yeah.
I'm honored. Y'all take care.
Thank you,
man.
All right, peace.
Peace.
What you see is what you get.
WFNG.
Fly nerds. You see it and say it. Yeah. You see black excellence and intelligence we now combine. Fly nerds on the verge of connecting the minds. North, south, east, west over digital lines. Catalogs of the culture inside. Seen it with our own eyes. We done been through the trends and phases. The names and the legacy, the changing faces. We can't talk shop, only dealing the truth. You tuning in to the Fly Nerd Group, so let the people's in. Yeah.
WFNG.
FNG.
Fly Nerd Radio.
Yeah. So let the people in.
WFNG. Fly Nerd Radio.